economic mobility, particularly urban economic mobility, is a concept that is near and dear to my heart. I've done work over the past 3, 4 years through my advocacy and activism that's led me to different places. And in one video that I did in the official elected official channel, I highlighted how back in the 60s and 70s in urban communities, there was a concentrated effort to remove decent paying jobs and good work that, you could afford to raise a family on, and replaced it with a lot of service industry and, more gynocentric based employment. Now, here we are. A few years later, as gentrification is taking root, and we have an article from ROI, which is Return on Information. It's a business-based Jersey media publication. It is fairly new, but let's get into this article. Newark wins funding assistance as one of 10 U.S. cities picked for economic mobility initiative sponsored by Bloomberg Philanthropies. Selection includes help from top-level organizations and will support cities' effort to build stronger communities by reducing evictions. By Tom Bergeron. Newark will be announced Tuesday as one of 10 cities across the country selected by Bloomberg Philanthropies and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Ballmer Group. Ballmer. Isn't that the guy that owns the Clippers? To participate in a national initiative to identify, pilot, and measure the success of interventions that will accelerate the economic mobility of their residents. I can't help but feel like me and Mr. Bergeron here have different definitions of economic mobility. I believe economic mobility is putting the work and the employment opportunities in communities such as this that pay pretty decent salary, pretty decent wages, so people can just, afford the stuff. Like, one of my biggest arguments is how, we always talk about affordable housing, but if the employment is profitable, then you don't have to worry about the affordable housing. Does that make sense? Like, I'd rather give the people the money to do it, and what they make of that is on them, as opposed to, oh yeah, we got to make 1,000,003 different programs. But what do I know? The cities will participate in an 18-month program in which an existing social program that appears to have the makings for success is given existence by numerous top-level national organizations. Officials said there will be an emphasis on using data to create processes and solutions for the city, while creating a blueprint for success that other cities can emulate. So what they're basically saying is that if there's a program that's already doing okay, they're gonna basically reinforce it. So this really has to do with things that are already taking place, and they just want to bump it up, and they're just giving them a few more dollars to work and operate. Newark's initiative will focus on reducing eviction rates amid rising housing costs to help ensure that long-term residents share in the benefits of local economic growth. Newark and the other 9 cities already have begun working with a team of advisors from Results for America and the Behavioral Insights team, both partners in What Works Cities, a Bloomberg Philanthropies initiative that helps cities confront urgent challenges through data and evidence-based decision-making. Yeah, the decision should be to welcome in each and every industry that you can into your city and get all those people to work in jobs, factories, gardens, plants, wherever. However, that really should be thing 1, 2, and 3. I'd much rather have the people have the money as opposed to creating more and more programs to create more and more bureaucracy, which this is basically sounding like it's gonna be. The cities will work with additional What Works City partners, including Johns Hopkins University Center for Government Excellence, the Harvard Kennedy School's Government Performance Lab, and the Sunlight Foundation. Additionally, Opportunity Insights at Harvard University is helping the cities draw insights regarding economic mobility in their communities using data from the Opportunity Atlas, an interactive resource developed in collaboration with the U.S. Census Bureau. Okay, so the reason I really like the term economic mobility is because, well, it's more in reference to people's pay than it is to whatever the heck this is. This is just like, oh yeah, we'll pay a couple months rent for you. Like, this is really what it sounds like. Yeah, we're going to make it so, like, we're going to make it so that you can pay a couple months rent, and we'll put a fresh coat of paint on some of these buildings. And that's probably where the cash is going to end up going. As part of the grant, Newark will receive up to $150,000 to use towards additional needs and assistance. Andrea Coleman, who co-leads the Bloomberg Philanthropies Government Innovation Grant Programs, said the program is about using data to change outcomes related to economic opportunity and prosperity in urban settings, she said, in an urgent need. From the perspective of Bloomberg Philanthropies, where this comes from and what prompted this was new data that has recently come from Opportunity Insights at Harvard University. She told ROI New Jersey that data shows that only half of the children today are growing up and earn more money than their parents. And that's compared to 90% of children who were born in 1940. Yeah, because you've been sitting here shorting. We've been shorting each other this entire time. We've been undercutting each other's wages for the past 40, 50 years. So, and everything's done absolutely nothing but get more expensive, this state included. We have if not the highest, in the top 3 highest property tax rates in the entire nation. We know that here in the U.S., there's a strong narrative that if you work hard, you'll get ahead. But what we're finding through this research and data is that many communities, young people and families face significant barriers to climbing the economic ladder. And some of that is based in the neighborhoods where they live. And that's why it's most important to take care of these kids' parents. It's most important to make sure that the parents are in a position to take care of them. Make sure that, because like what this really feels like to me is, oh yeah, we created this problem like 40 years ago and we've done absolutely nothing but exploit it since. But now, all these years later, we're going to come back and we're going to basically this is just lip service to me. This really is. This is no different than the 100 million that Mark Zuckerberg dropped in Newark. I mean, seriously, guys, this is like $150,000 is already spent. Newark interim deputy mayor and chief operating officer Natasha Rogers agrees with the premise, adding that making residents feel part of their community is key. Rogers said it's one of the reasons why reducing eviction rates is a key initiative for the city, where recent census data showed more than 78% of Newark residents are renters. Multiple studies show that represented tenants are more likely to retain possession of their homes than similar unrepresented tenants, thereby reducing shelter costs, hospital costs, mental health costs, juvenile delinquency, and the number of filed eviction actions, she told ROI. Rogers said there are approximately 38,000 eviction notices filed annually in Essex County, with approximately 20,000 of them filed against Newark tenants. Under the program, Rogers said Newark will aim to reduce that number by 25%. And you know how you can really reduce that number? Reduce the poverty. Go after the poverty. Create the opportunities. Bring the industries here. I'm talking about make it so hard for people to not be able to work that they are literally tripping over jobs. Come on, man. Coleman and Rogers are both confident that the program can have an impact in Newark and potentially serve as a guide for others. Of course they are. Like, why would you expect what they're going to say? No, man, this is going to fail. Like, that's dumb. The reason, Newark already was making progress towards this goal. The assistance, they both said, should be viewed as additional help and guidance, not an attempt to throw money at a problem without a legitimate model to follow. What are you talking about? There is no legitimate model to follow because, according to you, you're looking to create the model with this. I mean, you've been throwing money at this problem for forever and a day. This initiative was going to happen with or without Bloomberg, Rogers said. We look at their partnership this way. They're helping us help better implement this and to reduce and mitigate any issues that may have come up because of our lack of capacity or lack of bandwidth. We know that the data speaks for itself. Rogers said the outside ideas and eyes already are making an impact. That was evidence, she said, earlier this month when approximately 40 Newark officials began meeting with officials from various organizations involved with the initiative. I mean, who you save anybody from eviction yet? I invited our senior management team, no matter what agency they were in, public safety, public works, information technology, to come. She said, I wanted everyone to see Newark from a data perspective and see this is what the average citizen experience from an economic mobility perspective. And yet there's not a single word to bring in jobs here or industries that make make regular people money and going after poverty. I bet you the word poverty is not coming up in this at all. See, where all these bureaucrats and I guess elected officials, what they fail to realize is that it all starts at home. So what you should be trying to do is get the parents in up economic position. That's what economic mobility is putting them is, hey, there's this new opportunity that you can make 30, 40K at. Come on down, we'll take care of you. And thusly that matriculates into the families and into the communities. But nah, that what they want to do is just, oh yeah, we'll pay your rent for a couple of weeks. This is really what it sounds like. When the officials measured it against what Newark looked like 20 years ago from an economic perspective, so in the year 2000, the data, Rogers says, was eye-opening. We want to make objective decisions, but sometimes you sit too close to a situation and you underestimate the situation, or you have your own implicit bias, she said. What we saw was the data shows people are worse off in certain neighborhoods than they were 20 years ago. Yep, we're trying to make sure that the next 20 years doesn't look like the past 20 years. Well, unfortunately, this is really the state's fault. The state went out of its way to turn communities such as Newark, Irvington, East Orange, Camden, New Brunswick, Trenton into urban war zones, into like the drug war really, really screwed. And that's like 20 years before. We're talking about 1980 to 1990. So we're talking about 30 years if you want to go back that far. I mean, you turn this place into a prison farm. You turn these communities into prison farms and to exploit them and to, put Dollar General on the stock market. This is disgusting. And then they come back and sit there and say, oh, well, and it's not them. It's not, I don't know, Miss Coleman or whoever. It's not these people in per se, because guess what? They're just, they don't particularly have the capacity to see it in such a manner because we all have our blinders, self-included. Coleman said Newark and the other 9 cities selected are in position to achieve that goal. One of the things we've learned through our work in the cities is that there are few things that really ensure the best of these kinds of projects, he said. First, it's a commitment from the city to address the challenge. So, in this case, in all of these cities, they were selected because there was already really strong momentum and commitment and resources surround the issue and leadership from top to drive the work forward. Second is a willingness and a commitment to use data and evidence to accelerate their progress. We know resources alone are not going to solve the problem. We need to make sure that people are able to measure the results of what they're doing and investing the resources in smart ways that will actually make an impact. So basically the same, yeah, we're going to give you this money, but we're going to watch over it. Oh, that was a very nice way to say, yeah. I mean, apparently they've learned from the Zuckerberg situation. Like, yeah, we're definitely gonna, we definitely have an eye on that. And then third, the team and the partners that they have in place in none of these cities is a city trying to tackle this alone. They have partners both within the city, within the different city agencies, but also outside the government. The program is taking advantage of that great leadership, that commitment to using data, those very strong partners that are in place. The way we're augmenting and supporting the project and the commitment from these funders is that we're adding a lot of expertise around the design of the intervention and the test and the measurement of being able to understand how that is working. Newark Mayor Ross Baraka said the announcement is further proof that Newark not only is headed in the right direction, but attracting national attention. Okay, Corey. I think this is incredibly important for us that Newark was selected, he told ROI. It's that recognition that we have been working to put some of that infrastructure in place for equity and accessibility around economic growth and housing. I think they recognize that when the Opportunity Zones investment comes, Newark is ready to benefit and make sure that the residents of the city benefit from it as well. Baraka said he's glad to have another partner. It's great when groups are able to provide you funds for what you think is necessary, he said. It's one thing when people come in and drop funding and try to dictate what you do and try to tell you what's important for you and how this will help you grow. This is different in the sense that this is something we can agree on collectively. In terms of the direction of the city, it is the kind of funding that's necessary to help us buttress what we're already doing. Elevate and buttress. Here are other cities selected. And this is the other cities: New Mexico, Cincinnati, Dayton, Ohio, Detroit, Lansing, Michigan, Racine, Wisconsin, New Orleans, Rochester, New York, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. Well, I can only hope for the best. I mean, like this is pretty much, yeah, we're gonna pay some people's rent, and then we're gonna make sure that this money goes towards paying the people's rent. And so I look forward to possibly doing a follow up of, oh man, we helped save all these like 532 families were saved from eviction. That's awesome, But it's not a long term solution by any stretch of the imagination. The only long term solution is industry, plain and simple. And as far as like these school, and when it comes, and that's just for like that's for the adults. For the kids, it's getting that industry here for the adults, so their parents can have the kind of money that they need to take care of their kids. Plain and simple. I mean, I know there can be 1,000,003 people that try to overcomplicate this, but it really isn't. You make your community solve for business to actually do business and hire people and bring people in. And then, watch it grow from there. But this right here, I mean, this is nice. They're going to get a couple people, they're going to keep a couple people in their home. And that's important itself. So, I'm not a dick. I'm not a jerk. I'm not trying to be like, oh man, everything's terrible. I just like to look at things from a very realistic point of view. And yeah, we have different definitions of the term economic mobility. And that's about it. All the internet stuff. Like it if you liked it. Sub if you enjoy my fantastic voice. Share because sharing is caring. And speak. Let me know. What do you think? Do you think there's something legitimate can come of this? Or is this just another band-aid over a long-term problem? Because with the communities being as they are, with the drug war and policies such as that, so many legislative policies that have just really screwed this place back that 20, 30 years ago that have only remained in place ever since. I mean, what do you think happens? Please let me know in the comments, and until the next one.